So, what you're about to listen is an edited clip from one of the podcast segments I've made with Simple Weep and another of my old friend Spark. Before you get to the clip itself, I just want to thank all of those who checked the first episode of the Simple Ghouls Podcast and show their support. This was one of the subject matters we've talked in length about, so if you like this video and you're interested in seeing more, when the second episode of the Simple Ghouls Podcast arrives, you'll be able to listen to the whole thing and more. Thank you for everything, and enjoy the clip. Not just about quality, but I think in quantity. We've had Angels of Death, a couple of
Yeah,
other
the
ones
thing
here
is,
and there, but not that many.
the thing is, what is considered like a horror anime really? Because like you could consider Yokoso the Neverland a horror anime technically.
Yeah, I can see your point, but
But
it
like
does have
it isn't.
horror, but
Technically it isn't, and technically
yeah,
it is. So
I would say
like
that's
that's
more
where
psychological. You could say psychological horror, but I think it's more of a thriller than horror,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah,
It's like Tokyo Ghoul, for example. It does it has elements of horror, but you know, it's
it's not
more
a horror
it's
in
more
like
psychological, right?
yeah,
You know, and
yeah,
it's a completely different beast. There's no horror there at all. So, but the original Tokyo Ghoul, there's some horror elements to it, but I would say it's more instead of psychological horror, I think it's more psychological. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, you know what?
And like you have the zombie stuff, like High School of the Dead, and all of that
Yeah,
zombie stuff that technically is horror, but it doesn't scare anyone. And like one of the things I think one of the biggest problem is because a lot of people associate anime like with no terror because drawings are not as scary as actual flesh. Like one of and I'm gonna pull one of my favorite horror movies here, like Saw. Like
yeah.
when you see all that flesh, all that blood, like you can relate way more than if you saw a drawing of all that flesh and all of that blood. Like it doesn't impact you and affect you as much as actual like makeup, because obviously they didn't cut someone's head and screw someone's brain, obviously, but
Well,
but
and it's
just
about the practical effects, right? It's also a big draw to something such as Saw. With anime, I mean, you have to exaggerate a bit, right? You have a lot of blood, an unreasonable amount of blood dropping out of the
yeah,
floor, and maybe it doesn't feel as impactful because it's just too much. It's too much on your face. It's one of the reasons why there's this anime called Alone, which is one of the most well-known horror shows. I really like that show, and I've read the manga, and I absolutely love the manga. But at least the anime, they over exaggerated the quantity of gore and blood, and the element that I loved about the show was the psychological nature of it, which the manga kept all the way to the end. And with the anime, they decided to go more on the gore aspect of it, and it's, at least to me, I've always preferred more the psychological horror, and so I
yeah.
relate much more with that.
Yeah, I would just like to add something like, as they've said, there are really good Japanese games, Japanese horror games, and I think Japan has a lot of potential here in this genre. Like there are really well-known games like Resident Evil 2 Remake. That's a Japanese horror game,
Mm-hmm.
like Silent Hills. Like for example, the Evil Within series. Also Resident Evil 7. That's a Japanese one,
Yeah, yeah.
and also a not so famous game, but there's also the Zero Escape series. There's a lot of Japanese games, and I think Japan has a really, really a lot of potential here in this genre, and I would really enjoy if they would explore more this genre.
Wouldn't it be cool to have a Silent Hill anime show?
Exactly,
Wouldn't
exactly.
it be
Oh,
awesome? instead of relying on the whole jump scare fest, try something different, because Japan, like you guys pointed out, it's they're really good at psychological horror. They're really good at
Exactly.
new ideas and creative ideas in the horror genre. And so why can't they do the same thing as here in the West? They're doing so successfully, you know?
I think the horror genre um, isn't like not everyone enjoys it because like if you aren't connected, you want to feel like the the uh, the adrenaline like that the movie gives you or the game gives you. Because if you are playing a horror game and if you aren't really connected to the game, you won't enjoy it. And horror requires that. Requires for you to be connected. Requires for you to be focused. And that's what gives you the best experience. Like to feel the jump scares, to feel the adrenaline, to feel like everything. And that's what makes, in my opinion, horror so great. Like it gives a different type of feeling that the other genres don't usually give
Yeah,
us.
the key is
Yeah.
atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
Atmosphere is
exactly.
it's all about the atmosphere. If you don't get it right,
Without a
you
doubt.
don't you don't succeed with horror.